Epilogue. What you've just read is not a tidy story. It doesn't offer a moral. It doesn't restore order. It doesn't reward your faithfulness as a reader with a satisfying resolution. Instead, it walks you to the edge of the wilderness, the same wilderness into which Nicholas stumbled, the same one in which a body of believers laid themselves down, nameless and unrecognized. And it asks you to look, not with the eyes of entertainment or even of meaning, but with the cracked and flickering eyes of a child of dust who still, somehow, hopes. This project, a story interlaced with essays, a lament laced with philosophy, a gospel buried in the ash, does not attempt to answer the questions it raises. It doesn't presume to. It dares instead to hold them open, like wounds or altars or tombs. It's not a theological treatise, it's not systematic, it's not even narratively clean, but it is honest. And that's rarer than we think. The questions we've traced through this piece are old ones. What does it mean to be thrown into the world, waking up cold, delirious, and alone? What does it mean to carry the mark of a death you didn't choose, and to bear the shame of a sin you never committed but inherited in your bones? What kind of God asks for the blood of the poor? And who is it that stands in the alley with them, weeping, resisting, and still refusing to leave? We've dragged these questions through the language of Kierkegaard, Sartre, and Heidegger, through the gut-wrenching grief of Yellow Jackets and the unspeakable horror of Lovecraft, through the historical trauma of the lynching tree and the whitewashed heresies of Constantinian Christianity, and at every turn, the questions deepened. But something else emerged too. We saw a body, not the doctrinal body of Christ, but the real one. Wounded, scarred, unspectacular, unwanted, persecuted, a body of orphans and old men, of strange children and stray animals, a body held together not by creed or ritual or power, but by tenderness, by witnessable protection, a body that loved enough to die. And that, perhaps, is the only answer we're allowed to glimpse. Not a final answer, but a fragile one, that love is stronger than death, not because it wins in the end, but because it shows up. It stays. It lays itself down when there is nothing left to gain. Vera's name means truth, but not truth with a capital T, not the kind that can be printed in a tract or weaponized in a debate. Her name is a truth, a fragment, a remnant, a whisper. The kind of truth that survives even when everyone else dies. And that is our resurrection. Not the sound of trumpets or the return of the king, but the quiet sound of a girl and a cat disappearing into the wilderness. Not saved, not safe, but not alone either. This is not a hopeful story in the conventional sense, but it is a story of hope. And those are not the same thing. The gospel, if we dare use that word here, is not that we win. It's that we witness. It's that we remember. It's that we stay human and stay loving, even when the gods ask for blood and the institutions bow down to them. In the end, all we have is this, a memory of a different kind of world. A defiant refusal to forget what we saw in that moment of warmth, in that thawed cave, in that shared glance with a cat or a child or a stranger. A refusal to forget that the church can be something else. And a girl named Vera walking into the dark. That is our ending. That is our Easter. That is our truth.